It's only a matter of time before you feel the irrepressible urge to gather information about your users. And the most direct way to do that is to ask them some questions. And in the HTML world, the best tool for recording the answers to those questions is the simple HTML form. As you'll soon see, the HTML you need to present a form is in fact pretty straightforward. But that'll only solve half of your problem. A form will prompt users to enter whatever information you're asking for. But if we leave it there, nothing will actually happen when they hit the submit button. And that's because we don't have anything running on our server to collect and process that information. Building the back end that'll integrate your form with a database engine or an associated application can get really complicated, and it's way beyond the scope of this certification. But once we understand the HTML form here, I will show you how you can add some PHP code to handle the code in a basic way. I'm running a Linux virtual container that's got both PHP and the Apache HTTPD server installed. I'll start by navigating to the web root directory, which is var/www/html, and the ls command will list all the files in the directory. That index.html file is the default placeholder that's created when Apache is installed. I would replace that with my own homepage file if this website was a real project. For now, though, I'll let you see what's inside this form.html file I created. By the way, don't get excited about that unwritable warning at the bottom. It's just there because I didn't open the file using sudo admin powers, so I don't have the necessary permissions to make any changes right now. In any case, we start with the standard tags and then some h1 text for a title. But then we open a form tag where the action points to a file called submit.php. And the method specifies post. Post means that any text that's been entered into the form will be posted or sent to the submit.php file once the form is submitted. The input tag, down at the bottom of the code right before we close out the form, uses the submit type to send our data. The submit value attribute is there to print the word submit on the button we'll see on the form. Obviously, that'll make figuring out how to use the form easier for users. Now, the code used by the form itself is broken down into 3 pairs of lines. The first line here is a label tag that prints the word name on the first entry field. The accompanying input tag is a type attribute of text, an ID attribute of name, and is a required field. That means the form submission won't be successful unless this field has a value. The next pair does the same thing for an email address. However, as we see from the type attribute, this field expects the input to conform to the properties of a valid email address. This field is also required. The final pair, message, takes a text area tag and has a maximum number of rows and columns specified. This field obviously allows free-form text, but only up to a maximum number of characters. That's our code. Let's see what it looks like in a browser. First, though, I'll need to get the container's public IP address. There are a few ways to do that, but the one that involves the fewest keystrokes is to run IP space A inside the container. Here's the IP I get. This is a local NAT IP, so it won't be accessible outside my home network. Now, this is what I see when I hit that IP. That's the default Apache document that was named index.html. This means that our IP address takes us to the server's web root directory of var/www/html and automatically loads the index.html page if there are no more specific instructions. I'll just increase the size of it to make this easier to read. And then I'll add some more specific instructions. That is, I'll add a / at the end of the IP and then type the name of our form's file, form.html. I'll click inside the field name. The browser obviously knows what this field is looking for, as I'm shown a list of values I've previously used in similar fields. The same thing happens when I start typing my office@bootstrap-it.com address. I'll type something into the message field too, because I don't mind blindly following my own orders. But I won't hit submit, and that's because without some PHP magic, nothing would happen. And I haven't shown you that PHP yet. Before that'll happen, though, I should quickly show you how I got both Apache and PHP installed on this Ubuntu Linux machine. This is it. A single command that tells the apt package manager to install both packages. That's what built the var/www/html directory hierarchy we're in. And that's what created the networking and infrastructure that tells browsers how to find the files that'll define my website. And that's what allows PHP to get along so nicely with our web form. PHP, by the way, is a web-friendly scripting language that's a popular choice for adding programmed functionality to web pages. In fact, you can even incorporate PHP code directly into your HTML code, but that'll have to wait for another time. Right now, let's work through this code. Remember how our HTML post method sent the form data to this file? Well, here's what PHP is going to do with it. This if block looks for posted data and then organizes it by field, name, email, and message. Normally, you'd probably send that data along to a database, but for simplicity, I'll just print it back to the page to prove we actually had it. Let's see what that'll look like. I click the Submit button, and the form is replaced by the text I'd entered. Nothing spectacular, but it does nicely illustrate how forms work with PHP. Let's take a quick look back at everything we saw in this section. We first learned how HTML tags like head and body are used to break up a web page and to communicate formatting settings to browsers. We then saw some more granular formatting tags like P to define a new paragraph and UL for unordered lists. The img tag can be used to control how external images are displayed, and the video tag does similar work for videos. And of course, href defines links to external web resources like web pages. Finally, we learned about building HTML forms where users can enter their personal information, which can be captured and processed by a back-end server. Don't go anywhere just yet, though. In the next section, we'll learn how you can more closely control your HTML through CSS style sheets.